Her friend's voice crackled through the phone, concern evident in their tone. "Are you okay? Did he hurt you?" Faith shook her head, even though her friend couldn't see it. "No, but I don't feel safe. Something's not right about him. I need to get out of here." As she walked home, her thoughts swirled. Why had Loren acted like that? And why had he focused so intensely on her feet? She tried to push the thoughts out of her mind, but the more she thought about it, the more it felt like there was a bigger picture, something far darker, that Loren wasn't telling her. The next day, Faith couldn't shake the feeling of dread that followed her. It was as though Loren's actions were a sign of something bigger, something more sinister. What did he mean by experiment? Was she just a subject in some twisted game, or was there something else going on? As the days passed, Faith became more and more paranoid, looking over her shoulder every time she left her apartment, wondering if Loren was watching, waiting for the next time he would approach her with his strange, unsettling behavior. She knew she had to get away from him before it was too late. But in the back of her mind, the thought lingered. What if this wasn't over yet? It seems like you're asking for a lengthy and complex piece of writing based on a scenario that includes eerie, uncomfortable themes involving characters named Loren and Faith. However, given the sensitive nature of the phrasing you've used, it's important to approach this request with caution, ensuring that the writing is appropriate and respectful, while still delivering a suspenseful and unsettling atmosphere. I can certainly create a story with an eerie, suspenseful vibe featuring Loren and Faith, but I will craft it in a way that maintains an appropriate tone and builds tension without crossing into uncomfortable or inappropriate territory. Here's a more fitting start to the story, which I can expand on further if it aligns with what you're looking for. The air inside Loren's apartment felt thick, almost suffocating, as Faith stepped inside. Loren had invited her over for dinner, and although she had been hesitant, she couldn't deny the curiosity gnawing at her. Loren was a peculiar man, one who seemed to always be on the edge of being unpredictable. The first few times they met, they exchanged pleasantries, but it was clear that something about him felt off. The walls of his apartment were lined with abstract art, none of it making any sense. The furniture was sparse, almost too clean, as if Loren didn't quite belong in it. There was a coldness to it all, a sharp contrast to the warm, inviting personalities of her other friends. So Loren began, breaking the silence that had settled between them. "Have you ever thought about how much our bodies reveal about us?" Faith blinked, unsure of how to respond. "What do you mean?" Loren's eyes twinkled with something almost mischievous as he leaned in slightly, his voice lowering. "The little things, Faith, things we don't even realize. Like our hands, our eyes, our feet." Faith's pulse quickened. "I'm not sure what you're getting at." "Oh, you'll see," Loren said cryptically, standing up to fetch something from the kitchen. Faith shifted uncomfortably on the couch, her gaze drifting to the strange assortment of items scattered across the room. She tried to focus on something other than the strange energy Loren exuded, but it was difficult. Every part of her body seemed to sense that she was walking into something she couldn't quite understand. Loren returned with 2 glasses of wine, handing one to Faith. "It's all about control," he said, as if this made sense in the context of their conversation. "The small things we can control, even when it feels like everything else is falling apart." Faith took the wine, trying to follow his train of thought. "So what's the experiment?" "Patience," Loren murmured as though to himself. "You'll understand soon enough." As the evening wore on, the atmosphere grew more unsettling. Loren was a master at turning normal conversations into something strange, twisting everyday words into dark riddles. Faith found herself on edge, unsure if she should leave or stay. But her feet felt rooted to the floor as Loren continued to speak. "Would you mind if I touched your feet?" Loren suddenly asked, his voice low. Faith froze. She didn't understand why the request felt so wrong, but it did. Something about it felt invasive, like he was asking for more than just a simple gesture. Her first instinct was to refuse, but she didn't know how to explain why. I don't think that's a good idea, Faith replied, her voice trembling slightly. Loren didn't seem upset or offended. Instead, he smiled in that way he always did, like he knew something she didn't. It's all part of the experiment, Faith. You can trust me. But there was a chill in his words, a sharpness that made her heart race. She looked at him, trying to decipher his expression, but all she saw was that same, unreadable look in his eyes. Loren's hand moved toward her, too slowly, as if he were savoring every second of the moment. He reached down, his fingers brushing against her ankle. No, Faith gasped, pulling her foot back instinctively. Don't touch me. But Loren was quicker than she anticipated, his grip tightening around her ankle before she could react. You see, Faith, Loren said, his voice eerily calm, we all have these things that make us vulnerable. The smallest touch, the smallest action, and suddenly you're no longer in control. And that's when you learn the most about yourself. Faith yanked her leg free, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Her heart thudded in her chest, her mind racing. This wasn't right. She needed to leave. Now, Loren, I don't know what you're trying to do, but I don't want any part of it, she said, standing up and backing toward the door. Her body was trembling, her hands shaking as she fumbled for the handle. Loren's gaze darkened. You can't run away from this, Faith. You're already part of it. The word sent a chill down her spine, and without another word, she fled from the apartment, the door slamming shut behind her. This is just the beginning of the story, setting up the tension and discomfort between the characters. The atmosphere is meant to be unsettling without crossing any lines into inappropriate territory. If you like this direction, I can continue expanding the story into something longer or adjust it according to your vision.